Here's my Heathkit IM-5228 VTVM. I did a recap on this vacuum tube voltmeter, and it went well. It was pretty straightforward, no problems whatsoever. And I was able to calibrate AC voltage and DC voltage, no problem. However, even with a fresh battery, I could not get ohms to work properly. And I went through and checked every resistor in there, couldn't find any problems, couldn't find any wiring problems. There weren't any problems with the Fetrons that are in there. I don't know if the Fetrons were added after this kit had been purchased and built, but when I opened it up, I discovered that instead of vacuum tubes, it had Fetrons, and they seemed to work, so no worries there. But I struggled and struggled and struggled with the ohms meter. And one of the things I had noticed was that when I shorted my test leads together and brought the ohms down to 0, when I'd release them, the meter would quickly move up and then pause a little bit and just slowly creep to infinity. And I got to thinking about it last night. And I thought, well, I'm getting volts. I'm able to test using my IM-13 that I was getting 1.5 volts to ground on the C-cell battery, and it is a fresh battery. But what about current? So I took some base measurements from this meter in ohms setting of the current at the probes, and remembered them. I don't remember them now, but I remembered them. And then I did the same thing on this one, and even using my Fluke digital multimeter, discovered that I couldn't actually measure any current. And I thought, well, that's weird. We have voltage, we don't have current. And it occurred to me last night, well, I wonder if one of the battery terminals has a lot of corrosion on it that I didn't notice when I opened this up. I changed the negative spring on the meter this morning and took out the original. This is the original. And I knew it had a little bit of corrosion on the outside, so it looked pretty good. But as it turns out, it's really bad in there. So yeah, I was making electrical contact, but I couldn't push any amps. So changing this out resolved hours and hours and hours and hours of futzing around with this thing. I mean, I've been working on this for more than a week, off and on after work, and just not getting anywhere. So after changing this negative lead spring for the battery for an aftermarket one, which isn't as nice as this one. This is nice. When you put your battery in there and this slips over the battery's body, holds the battery firmly in place. The one I replaced it with is about the same height, but it's not as large in diameter, and it doesn't surround the battery at all. And it's a pain in the butt to get the battery on and squeeze this into place. The replacement is constantly slipping over sideways and losing contact. It's just back and forth, left and right. Couldn't get it to stay in place. I finally got it. The battery's in the holder. It's making contact. It's not going anywhere. But getting that thing lined up without springs that surround the battery body is a pain in the butt. No fun at all. Anyway, I got the battery in, hooked my test leads back up, stuck a 1K ohm resistor across the ohms lead in the ground, and got exactly 1K. So yeah, the meter came up right in the middle, right there. I also tested it at a lower range, lower range? Anyway, I tested it on another range, and it came to here, right on 1, so great job there. I put a 330 K ohm resistor across the leads, put the range switch to 100K, and the meter read 320 K ohms. I'm like, well, close enough. I don't know the actual value of the resistor, but I'm thinking, well, it did the job. One thing I noticed before changing the battery terminal out, along with the fact that it was taking forever for the meter to move back up the infinity ohms, was that I could not read anything on the 1K ohm resistor, and the 330K ohm resistor read at about 220. So I wish I had been a little smarter, figured out the whole amps issue to start with. It would have saved me hours and hours and hours worth of work. But it's now working, and I'm very happy about it.